everybody. Welcome back to A Blast from the Past. I'm Vanessa. I'm your host for today, and today I'm very excited about the guest we have. He is an astonishing scientist. He is the pioneer of the scientific method, the father of modern-day astronomy. He was refuted by the Catholic Church. Please give a warm welcome to Galileo Galilei.
Thank you so much.
It's so nice to meet you finally. Oh,
Thank you.
All
Wow,
right.
what a great turnout this is, huh?
Yeah, it's a great night. It's a great night. All right. So, first of all, thank you so much for coming out. I really appreciate it.
Me. Wow.
So let's just
Give it up for A Blast from the Past, guys.
All right. So, first of all, how are you?
Oh, I'm amazing. It feels great to be finally let out of the house again. So,
Pardon? What do you mean?
oh well, you may not know this, but I was on house arrest for 8 very long years.
Whoa, okay. I know you're a man of logic, so let's just take things from the beginning. Tell me about your early life.
All right. Well, for starters, I was born in Pisa, Italy, in February 15th, 1564. Shortly after, my family moved to Florence, where I attended the University of Pisa there. I studied medicine, but unfortunately, due to some financial crises, I was forced to drop out. You know, it's funny, actually, you just reminded me of a very vivid memory I had at the Cathedral of Vallombrosa. I remember observing a lamp swinging from the ceiling in perfect rhythm almost, and I remember it was so interesting to think that no matter how large the range of motion the lamp was swinging on, it would take the exact same amount of time.
Why does this memory stand out to you? Did it inspire you in any way?
Well, yes, actually, I later applied these notions to my published work of pendulum rhythms and clocks.
Wow, amazing. So, I know you said that you actually ended up dropping out. So what happened after that?
After I dropped out, I returned to Pisa, where I continued my work on hydrostatic balance, which essentially entailed attempting to create a device that was able to measure the mass of objects. I later published a paper on hydrostatic balance regarding the center of gravity in solids. And because of this, I was awarded a position, actually, at the University of Pisa.
Oh, wow. Funny how it all comes full circle, right? So, aside from your teachings, what were you working on at this time?
Well, let's see. My memory's failing me. I'm an old man. These were the late 1580s and 1590s, correct? Yes.
Yes.
This was when I worked on my theory of motion. This actually refuted the Aristotelian theory at the time that bodies of different weights fell at different rates through space. However, after completing these theories, I actually published them, and you might be familiar with them now as the theory of uniform acceleration.
Yes. That takes me back to my favorite course at school, Astronomy 2B03. I had an amazing TA. But I digress. Anyways, so paint us a picture. How did you go about proving these theories?
Well, let's see. Essentially, I proved that all bodies, regardless of their weight, fell at an equal rate. Without friction, of course, in the absence of friction. In this case, the friction would be air resistance. So what I did was, I climbed the Great Leaning Tower of Pisa, and where I dropped 2 objects of varying masses. And what I observed was that they hit the ground at the same time. So from this observation, I correctly reasoned that when an object falls more slowly, it is in fact due to air resistance. And an object moving solely under the influence of gravity falls at an acceleration of a determined acceleration of 9.8 meters per second squared.
9.8, okay, I'll remember that. So, we've all heard the rumors, and I need you to spill the tea. How do you really feel about Aristotle?
I knew this was coming. No, truly, Aristotle is a phenomenal man, a phenomenal philosopher and scientist. However, it was just fate that we did not agree on many things, but this is common in the science community. Things are meant to be disputed and refuted. It's funny you mentioned him, actually. Slightly around this time, before the 1600s, I reached out to a brilliant man, a good friend of mine, a German mathematician, astronomer and astrologer. Perhaps you've heard of him, Johannes Kepler. And so I wrote him a letter, and in this letter I supported his heliocentric theory of the universe, of course, over the predominant one at the time, which was Aristotle's geocentric model.
Okay, well, I actually never heard of that before. Why was it kept under wraps?
Well, At the time, I would have published my findings, but I feared ridicule from the Catholic Church as they were very big on Aristotle's geocentric theory, as this was in accordance with their biblical scripture.
For the audience members who don't know, the geocentric model is the belief that the Earth is in the center of the universe, which we know to be false. The heliocentric model is that the sun is in the center of our galaxy, and we now know that this is fact. Yes.
Yes, exactly. Geocentrism, as I earlier mentioned, was heavily aligned with biblical and religious beliefs at the time, which was why it was very hard, and I felt great anxiety refuting these beliefs, as I was a devout Catholic myself.
Makes sense, definitely. So, moving on, I'd like to clear up some misconceptions about you and the telescope. Did you actually invent it? I know some people believe that. Take us back.
Yes, I'm very glad you brought this up. To clear things up, I did not invent the telescope. The telescope was actually invented by a Dutch eyeglass maker at the time, which his name slips my mind. Old age is getting to me. However, I heard about something called the telescope in July in the year 1609. And by the fall, I had already refined it and used it to systematically observe the outer space and celestial objects, where I recorded my findings in my book, The Starry Messenger. Shortly after I published them, which brought me my fame.
Oh, I see. So in this pivotal point in ancient astrology, or astronomy, what did your observations report?
Well, I'll spare you the lengthy and boring details, which the audience as well as yourself can read in my book, The Starry Messenger. However, to give you an idea, it reported some observations about the moon and the craters we had observed on it, and in the book it actually entails a sketch of what I hypothesized the moon to look like before any observations, which were found to be quite accurate, not to pat myself on the back, but I also observed Jupiter and the infamous 4 moons. I'm sure you're well aware of that. I observed the Milky Way and the stars present in it, as well as the process that I took to create the aperture of the first Galilean telescope. This includes the process in which I increased the magnification from 8-fold to 20-fold to 32-fold.
So, the Galilean telescope was so remarkable at this time, and it really paved the way for modern astronomy. What was society's first interaction with it?
Well, shortly after its creation, I went to Rome with high hopes that the society would be amazed by my creation. However, it was there that I spent 3 horribly long years in conflict with the church. You see, when I proposed my ideas, Aristotelian scholars as well as the Roman Church were not pleased with my research and took it as a personal attack on their beliefs. The Pope actually formally banned me and my research. I remember him stating, "I will not and should not defend any of my doctrines." And it was in these years, as colloquialism would say, all hell broke loose in my world.
What do you mean?
Well, you see, the Pope was infuriated at the content of my book at the time, the Galileo, which was a book concerning the 2 chief world systems, Ptolemaic and Copernican doctrines. I was eventually placed under trial under suspicion of heresy.
Wow.
It was then that I spent house arrest for 8 long years, unable to publish any of my work.
Wow, 8 years locked away, silenced. This must have been extremely difficult for someone with such a passion for astronomy like you. So, let's dive deeper into this. Where do you think the world would be today if you were never silenced?